With the impending release of Battlefield 4 and all the hype that's being created for Battlefield 4 at the moment, before I jump in with the masses and the crowd and start covering all of the Battlefield 4 content and information that is starting to slowly be released to us, I want to take this time to look back at Battlefield 3. Now, as I said, there are a lot of people already covering all the things that we are learning every single day about the upcoming showcase of Battlefield 4 on the 26th and 27th of March. And I too will be joining in with that once we have solid information and content to show you guys. But until then, in the next few days, I want to spend my time looking back over Battlefield 3 and appreciating the game that we've been playing for the last 2 years. Now, I am also going to be covering the information that we are receiving before the 26th and the 27th that is slowly being leaked to us on a daily basis. But rather than doing lots of videos that are out of date every single day as new information is released, I'm going to wait till the night of the 25th, the night before the big showcase, and round up all the information that we have been shown so far and try and create a larger, more accurate picture of the Battlefield 4 story so far. But that isn't what I want to speak to you guys about today. As you can see, the title of this video is called Battlefield 3, The Legacy. And with all the hype and the upcoming gameplay and the excitement that's building for the upcoming release of Battlefield 4, I want to take this time now to actually look back at Battlefield 3 and appreciate what we already have with Battlefield 3. Now, the reason behind the title Battlefield 3 The Legacy is because I want to ask you guys and put a question forward to you that when you're playing Battlefield 4 next year, or maybe the year after, or maybe even Battlefield 5 even further into the future, when you think back to your time playing Battlefield 3, what will be the legacy that remains with you? What will be the main thing that you take with you from Battlefield 3? For example, when anybody talks to me about Battlefield Bad Company 2, the first thing that comes to my mind straight away is Arica Harbour. So for me, the legacy that remains with me from Bad Company 2 is playing Rush on Arica Harbour. So I want to ask you guys the same kind of question. What will be the thing that you remember, the pivotal moment of your experiences with Battlefield 3? Now, of course, I have asked myself this question and eventually I have come to a conclusion, but it was more difficult than I expected, especially a lot more difficult than picking my favourite experiences with Bad Company 2. And I think that is because I've played Battlefield 3 for a much longer lifespan and time period than I played Bad Company 2, and also the variation of maps and play styles and game types that we have been exposed to in Battlefield 3 is a lot more varied than in Bad Company 2. Now, of course, with Bad Company 2, we did get a lot of DLC, but there wasn't much variation. Not to the extent of Battlefield 3, where we get things like air superiority, tank superiority, the largest maps they've ever made, and probably the smallest maps they've ever made with close quarters. So with Battlefield 3, we have been exposed to a lot more variation and playstyle throughout the game's lifespan. And that's why I myself found it a lot more difficult to pick an individual and pinnacle moment from Battlefield 3. With Bad Company 2, whilst I did play all the DLC, I always found myself going back to Arica Harbour. Now, with Battlefield 3, over those last 2 years, there's been a wide variation of playstyles and maps that they have kind of exposed us to. So over the last 2 years, I can actually think back to different time periods when I have kind of got myself stuck into certain game types and certain playstyles and certain maps. For example, when the game was first released, because I come straight from Bad Company 2, I played nothing pretty much but Rush on city maps like Seine Crossing and Grand Bazaar. And then slowly I start to play things like Conquest, and then of course Close Quarters came out, and at first I hated it, and then slowly I started playing nothing but things like Conquest Domination, and I hated playing large maps, and I kind of got very good at quick reactions and quick close shooting, and when I went back to things like Seine Crossing, I was actually pretty crap at them again, and I had to expose myself to it and try and relearn how to play those game types. So picking a single pinnacle moment, my legacy of Battlefield 3, was actually a difficult thing to do. But you can probably guess from the gameplay I am showing you here that I have come to a conclusion, and yes, it is Conquest on Grand Bazaar. For me, when I look back on Battlefield 3 in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, hell, when I'm an old man and I look back at my days playing video games and I look back at Battlefield 3, for me, Conquest on Grand Bazaar will be the thing that is written in the words of Battlefield 3. Every time someone mentions Battlefield 3 in the future, this game mode and this map is what is going to be stuck in my mind. Now, trying to explain my love for Conquest on Grand Bazaar was actually quite difficult to do. I had to ask myself, you know, why do you enjoy this game mode on this map so much? And I think it's all to do with my origins of playing multiplayer first-person shooters. I hate to mention it, but I was born into multiplayer from Call of Duty 4. It's very fast-paced, first-person, infantry-based fighting, which is of course exactly what this map and game mode is here. Now, whilst I do appreciate a lot of the vehicles and the wide variety of playstyles and fighting that are available to us in Battlefield 3, I do always find myself going back to infantry-based fighting, and it's maps like Grand Bazaar that offer the most intense and kind of exciting gameplay for that playstyle. Now, of course, there were close seconds and runners-up, and I've come to a conclusion with those as well. Playing Rush on Sen Crossing was definitely my second place. I do love playing that for pretty much the same reasons. It's very much infantry-based, very fast-paced, and pretty close quarters, but not too close quarters that it feels like a Call of Duty map, like the close quarters map themselves. So there is kind of a sense of variety with those maps still. There are some vehicles to use, but it's mainly infantry based. And after that, Rush on Sharky Peninsula does just nick it third place there because, you know, I did fall in love with that as well. But now it's down to you guys in the comment section below. I want to hear from you. What will be your legacy of Battlefield 3? What will be the one pinnacle moment that you take away from this game and remember in the future? Now, before this video ends, I just want to thank Random Hato and Andy, some of my subscribers who did help me out with the introduction. Don't forget to check out Random Hato's channel in the description below. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.